Namaskar दोस्तों, welcome to channel Toxicology on board. Today in this video we'll be discussing another DABT topic, that is history of toxicology. Klassen chapter 1, total 5 questions are given. If you look at cassette and all, no, we have another Klassen short textbook will be there, which is around 600 pages textbook will be there. In that around 5 questions are given. Basically from the history of toxicology, generally DABT questions will not come up, but there might be some historical incidents which might lead to a regulatory decision or regulatory law into establishment. In that case, maybe one or two questions might come. Otherwise, history of toxicology, most of the time we won't be getting any questions. Only I'll be discussing top 5 questions which were given in this Klassen textbook chapter number 1. So let's directly dive into the question. So the question is, which of the following statements regarding toxicology is true? What you need to know is that what is the basic definition of modern toxicology, which is directly given in the textbook. Let's see the options what we have. Modern toxicology is concerned with the study of adverse effects of chemicals on ancient form of life. So ancient form of life is not. So that the option A is wrong. Modern toxicology studies embrace principles from such disciplines as biochemistry, botany, chemistry, physiology, and physics. This is absolutely true. Why? Because you have to understand that toxicology as such is not a pure science. It's a what is it, amalgamation of various other branches of science, which we'll see more explanation in another slide. Modern toxicology has its roots in knowledge of plant and animal poisons, which predates recorded history and has been used to promote peace. This might be applicable partially to toxicology definition, but it doesn't apply to modern toxicology. Why? Because only it is covering plants and animal poisons. That's why this option is also not right. Next, we have modern toxicology studies with mechanisms by which inorganic chemicals produce advantageous as well as deleterious effect. See, whenever there is a advantageous is there, no, that will not come under toxicology. Toxicology will deal with only adverse effects. And coming to inorganic chemicals, the definition should not pertain only to inorganic chemicals. Next, modern toxicology is concerned with the study of chemicals in mammalian species. It's not true, because prokaryotes, eukaryotes, non-rodents, all those things will also comes into comes under the bigger umbrella, that is modern toxicology. So the right answer will be in the green text, that is modern toxicology studies embrace principles from such disciplines as biochemistry, botany, chemistry, physiology, and physics. So let's see what is the explanation which was given in this Klassen textbook, third edition, page number 1. So this is the definition, which is similar to that of the first, the right option. It goes beyond the study of adverse effects of exogenous agents by assimilating. Okay, as I said, it's an amalgamation, assimilating all the information from various knowledge and techniques from most branches. What are those branches? Biochemistry, biology, chemistry, genetics, mathematics, medicine, pharmacology, physiology, physics, and after accumulating all this, assimilating all this knowledge, um, type of how can once you collect the data, how can you use that collected data? It is used for safety evaluation as well as risk assessment to the discipline. Okay, then, in all branches of toxicology, scientists explore the mechanism by which these chemicals produce adverse effects in these biological systems. Similarly, the discipline like pharmacology, in case of toxicology, also you need to identify the mechanism by which the particular concerned chemical is causing toxicity. Next, activity in these broad subjects complement toxicology research. So these are the various branches because of which assimilation turns into modern toxicology. Next, go to next question. Second question was, knowledge of the toxicology of poisonous agents was published early in the. So as I said, no, there are various toxicology books were there historically, but all from this exam point of view, you might not get any question, but still we'll learn for our knowledge base. For option A was Eber's piperus. Option B is Historia plantorium. Option C is D. Materia medica. Option D is Lex cornelia. Option E is treatise on poisons and their antidotes. So the right answer will be in the green test, that is Eberus papyrus. Knowledge of animal venoms as well as plant extracts for hunting, warfare, assassination presumably predate recorded history. So a lot of historical incidents are there. One of the oldest known writing, that is Eberus papyrus. Here you can see the one. And circa means about. When we don't know the exact time in the historical, we'll be using about or approximate. Contains information pertaining to many recognized poisons. What are those? Hemlock. Hemlock, you have to remember. Roman Empire, Roman Julius Caesar is the no. He was given this hemlock poison, aconite, opium, which is one of the source for morphine, I guess, which is used for recreational purposes. Then metals, metals means we have lead, copper, antimony. As I repeatedly saying, always read metals and the type of adverse or what is it, significant toxicity which each metal will cause, that you have to remember. Okay. So next we'll go to next question. Before going that, we'll also understand what are the other options were, so that we get an opportunity to read this one. Second option was De Historia Plantarum. So Theophrastus was a scientist, was a student of Aristotle. He included numerous references of this poisonous plants. So in this De Historia Plantarum, as the name suggests, there were all the list of the poisonous plants in this particular book. Third option was De Materia Medica. Dioscorides, a Greek physician in the court of Roman Emperor Nero, made the first attempt of classifying the poisons into plant, animal, and mineral in this book, De Materia Medica, which contains reference of around 600 plants. Okay, so in this particular book, the first time for it is in the literature, it was poisons were classified as plant toxins, animal toxins, as well as mineral toxins. Next, we had option D, which was Lex Cornelia. One legend tells Roman king Mithridates VI of Pontus, who was so fearful of poisons, he regularly. So, what this particular king did is that he started consuming a mixture of 36 ingredients of different poisons that were known at that particular time. And what was the purpose why he was taking that? He wanted to develop a resistance to this particular poisons. If there is an invasion by his enemies to kill the, so he used become this was his antidote concoction. Okay, that is the this particular incident or this particular tale led to the term that is called mithridatic as an antidote for this protective mixture. Okay, then later on another one of the ministers, it is quota, is named Sula. He has proposed this Lex Cornelia, which was nothing but the first law against poisoning and later became a regulatory statute. Okay, so remember important thing that you have to remember, mithridate. This you will come across. Okay, always. The next we had option E. Option E is related to this particular thing, treatise on poisons and their antidotes. In this particular thing, what has happened is that Maimonides is the person. What did he do is that he proposed included treatises on treatment of poisonings from insects, snakes, as well as mad dogs. So whenever any insect bite or snake bite or mad dog bite is there, how to treat those treatments were listed in this particular book. Okay, and this is the first time kinetics is coming into picture. See, if you see his subject of bioavailability, noting that milk, butter, and cream could delay intestinal absorption. So food and that particular poison interaction, the first link was introduced in this particular treatise on poisons and their antidotes book. So basically, what did he tested is that toxic response, onset of action, effectiveness of compound and potency, degree of response of parts of the body, that is specificity and the site of action, the complaints of the victim, clinical symptoms as well as signs. So for the first time, all this, if you see onset of action, potency, specificity, site of action, clinical signs and symptoms. Today also they are the basic principles. Whenever you are any emergency, is the response is there to a certain patient, all these things will very prime pillars which will suggest us how to treat that particular poison. Next we had question number 3. So this is very important. Again, most of the scientists will come across, toxicologists will come across Paracelsus, a physician, alchemist, formulated many revolutionary views and remain integral to the structure of toxicology, pharmacology, and therapeutics today. He focused on the primary toxic agent as a chemical entity and articulated the dose-response relationship. So, this was the first scientist who was able to relate dose and response, the two different terms he was able to connect. Okay, which one of the statement is not attributable to Paracelsus? Paracelsus main thing what it is, natural poisons are quick in their onset of action. This is not always true. Certain poisons, certain natural poisons might show delayed effect also. So the first option will be wrong. It is not attributable to Paracelsus. What else he has said? Experimentation is essential in the examination of responses to chemicals. Always experiment the response you want to connect it. So that next one is one should make a distinction between therapeutic and toxic concentration. Today also we know the concept of therapeutic index UCC. We need to know the in the dose response curve, efficacy curve as well as the toxic curve. Once we know the difference between these two, a margin of safety can be established. These properties are sometimes but not always indistinguishable except by dose. Most of the time, but not always dose. And one can ascertain a degree of specificity of chemicals and their therapeutic or toxic effects. So these were the four important pillars which were listed by this our Paracelsus scientist. Okay, so you always know this particular statement. So let's see if you look into this textbook, no, third edition, page number 16. He has listed out of all these things. Okay, so if you look into all these four options, no, experimentation, toxic properties of chemical, indistinguishable except by dose, as well degree of specificity of chemicals, all these four important pillars principles have led to Paracelsus to articulate the dose response relationship, which became the bulwark of toxicology. Next, we have question number 4. Question number 4, we have the art of toxicology requires years of experience to acquire, even though the knowledge base of facts may be learned more quickly. Which modern toxicology created accredited with this this with the saying that see, there is an important statement. I am not sure if this particular on this statement any question will come. But being a toxicologist, what we need to know that you can be a toxicologist in two easy lessons, each of 10 years. This is a statement which is given even in the Klassen textbook. So this particular statement was given by whom is the option is right option is answer D, that is Arnold Lehman. Arnold Lehman, he was the person the who coined this particular statement, and based on his contributions towards toxicology, either towards FDA or SOT, as triggered as made the SOT to no, to make an award on his name, that is Arnold J. Lehman Award will be there. So let's understand what are all these major five scientists and their contribution in the toxicology discipline. So we have first right answer, that is option T is Arnold J. Lehman. See, the phrase is numerous saying. It doesn't mean exactly. What you mean to say is that you can be a toxicologist in two easy lessons, that is each 10 years, around at least 20 years, he's saying. So, first two NT, that are the two lessons refers to the extensive scientific knowledge and practical experience necessary, not a quick course, and emphasize the depth of study needed for toxicology career. That is the reason when you're preparing for the ABT exam also, immediately after achieving your degree in toxicology, you can't be eligible to write the exam. You need to have some practical years of experience. One is theoretical, that is the educational knowledge, and another thing is just by reading the principles of toxicology or textbooks or guidelines, you cannot become a toxicologist, because each case, each person, each toxic chemical is different from the other. So based on experience only, you will become a well skilled toxicology. That is the based on that is the reason he's saying. First one is two easy lessons, sarcastic and understatement, suggesting a simple and quick process. In reality, what it is that toxicology requires a rigorous and a extended education. That is very important. You need to have in-depth knowledge. You should have. You have to read n number of books, n number of guidelines. You have to read. Then only theoretical knowledge is important. Second one is each of 10 years. This part saying makes the sarcastic point explicit. Here, what it is trying to say is that long-term commitment to learning. That is the reason somebody who is appearing for the ERT or even for the ABT exams also, even once you attain the degree, that's not enough. There is a continuous development should be there. That's why you will be writing CPD for your this certificate courses. That is what is saying. Long-term commitment to learning, which is more realistic for the specialized scientific field like toxicology. So basic meaning it is the complex science that demands years of dedicated study, experience to master it. It is not a field you can become a proficient in quickly. Okay. So not a mosaic, it is not a modular, nor it is predetermined. Rather, toxicology is a continuous, interactive, and emergent. That's why I keep saying that keep reading whatever the new articles are there. Keep reading, interactive. Attend as many conferences or meet your peer toxicology scientists so that any case which is learnt by the second toxicologist might learn by the other third toxicologist, like that. And emergent, okay, it is important, but whenever there is a new guideline, new update is there, it has to be implied, it has to be, you should be aware of that particular thing. Okay, that is our challenge. That was about the question number 3. Right answer in continuation with option D only. That is Arnold J. Lehman. There is a scientist who made scientific contribution to the field of toxicology and regulation of chemical agents, as I said, no. So mostly he was a key figure at US FDA. He was a former director of this Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition. So please read about CFSAN, very important. Okay, one of the important department in the case of FDA, and he also founded the Society of Toxicology. That is the reason SOT has named an award after this particular scientist. Society of Toxicology honors his contribution through the Arnold J. Lehman Award, which recognizes individuals who have made pivotal contribution to risk assessment and regulation of chemical agents, including pharmaceuticals. So you can also apply for this award. Okay, you can then you can nominate, or you can give your whatever the work you have done in the toxicology field, probably you might also get an award in this particular area. So let's see what were the other options. Option A was about Claude Bernard. He is again is another scientist. Main important thing, and he was a former student of this particular person, Magneti. So important thing, what is that? It is an introduction to the study of experimental medicine. Okay, the use of medicine that would later become scientific method. So main important thing is that experiment is important. Okay, study of experimental medicine. This is a book he was emphasized, and he contradicted a prevailing theory. Theories are only hypotheses proven or disproven by facts. Again, this is very important. Who are pursuing PhD in toxicology or postdoctorate like that, thesis, data, all these things are important. See, students should not do cherry picking data. There are some certain, you have 10 observations. If 2 or 3 observations are lying outside the, then you should not, it might be an outlier, but a proper rational justification should be done. Cherry picking of the data should not be done. Okay, only to prove only. See, when you are doing in research, it should not be hypothesis driven. I mean to say, in order to prove a hypothesis can be null hypothesis or H naught or H0. Okay, H1. I mean to say. So in that you certain types research can end up with negative results. Also have the tendency to report that negative results. Also don't work towards proving a hypothesis only true. That's what the main important thing that we can learn from this particular scientist. Then was option B was about Rachel Carson. Rachel Carson is again very important person, and her contributions to the toxicology frame very big important principles. So she has written one particular book called Silent Spring, which would it was a groundbreaking book, and what she has mentioned in that particular book is about the indiscriminate use of this pesticide. What is DDT or organochlorine class of pesticides? So they had the major thing is that they had biomagnification or biopersistence in the environment. As you can see that, as you know, the basic definition of this bioaccumulation: low concentration to high concentration as the food chain increases, right? So that see, main important thing what has happened, why the book was named as Silent Spring, that birds their egg shells became thin because of this DDT, because of which the bird population decreased, and that particular spring was very silent. That's how she has seen. So after her contributions, it has led to development of another important discipline in the toxicology, that is USCPA. US Environmental Protection Agency in 1970 was established after her contributions to this particular um, incident. Then next we have option C. We have Upton Sinclair. Again, this is a renowned scientist. He has written this particular book, The Jungle. So what is happening? How the unsanitary conditions were there in the case of meat packing industry. He has done. So main important thing about this book was that it led to the formation of this Pure Food and Drug Act and the Meat Inspection Act. These are the two important acts which were very important at that particular 1900, early 1900s, 1905 as well as 1906. Option E was Oswald Schember. This is again important, and the two scientists were discussing here, Louis Leavitt. So major contributions got that is Oswald Schember. He approximately he trained around 120 students, which later populated most important laboratories of pharmacology and toxicology throughout the world. That's why having good teachers, good seniors is very important. Their contribution, their practical learning and experience, it will not be always there in the textbooks or in the guidelines. Then Lewin, another person, another scientist, his early work was on toxicity of narcotics, methanol, glycerol, acrolein, as well as chloroform. All this important information was taken from Castret 9th edition, chapter 9th edition, page number 31, that is chapter 1, as well as in Klassen, the short book, that is page 1 and 2. Next, we have last 10 questions in this particular thing. Which of the following statement is correct? Claude Bernard was specific prolific scientist who trained over 120 students and published numerous contributions to scientific literature. No, Bernard is not. Bernard is not. It was Oswald Chevy who was trained the thing. Second option is Louis Levy trained under Oswald Schemberg and published much of the early work on the toxicology of narcotic methanol chloroform. If you see the previous slide, the right answer is there. Direct statement from the textbook. An introduction to the study of experimental evidence medicine was written by the Spanish physician Orfilia. Always remember, the Orfilia is the father of this modern toxicology. This is not the right answer. So option C, may Claude Bernard is the person who has material experimental medicine, that particular book. Orfilia is the father of toxicology. Coming to D, McNeedy used autopsy material and chemical analysis systematically as a legal proving of poisoning. No, this is not the person. इनका student है, this is Claude Bernard, that is the person who is it. Percival Spots was instrumental in demonstrating the chemical complexity of snake venoms. No, snake venoms के लिए you have a snake venoms के लिए you have this particular thing, mimenoids, treatious and poisons and their antidotes in that it is given. And particularly this Percival Spots, no, chimney sweep, that is scrotal cancer, that is the important thing. The it contained basically mainly that have been the coal in the coal chimney sweeps coal whatever the way it has various components were there which were responsible for causing scrotal cancer. Okay, regarding this particular chimney sweep, in my channel one video I've already uploaded. Hope from this video, and I have also given notes from page 1 and 2 from Klassen edition, this third edition only. So hope from this video some of the you might got introduced to some of the important toxicologists who their contributions and how that led to various regulatory agencies. The important thing in the history, most of the time questions will not come, but remember is particular historical incident, that connection to the toxicology you have to remember. For example, chimney sweep is there, coal. So what are the components of the coal which might be responsible for causing scrotal cancer? So where the exposure is there, such kind of scientific information is more needed. Anytime any certain regulatory agency related questions might also come, like Pure Food Act, something was there, and CFSA and like that some questions might come, or SOT related something question might come. Otherwise, you'll not get much questions from this. Thank you so much. Be curious for any questions. Please write Arya, mail to arya.priyanka18@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, and follow my YouTube channel Toxicology of Board. All the best for your exam. Thank you.